Hello dear friends, Mollusk here. Collodi's back, and this time he faces the human freight train, Mei Feng, of the Arcanists. And this is my second game against Joden, the 13 Fates, who's a lovely guy with some terrible luck. What more could you ask for in an opponent? Most of this terrain is walls, with some severe terrain around the edges of the hills. I won the deployment flip and let Mr. Fates choose his side, because I'm a nice guy. So he set up on the far side with the Emberling, a Fire Gamin, a Metal Gamin, a Coryphee, Mei Feng, with Arcane Reservoir, Imbued Energies and Seismic Claws. Another Metal Gamin, and these guys are a pain in the butthole. A Coryphee, and whatever the hell that is. Oh, it's a Fire Gamin. And then two Lurking Mole Men. Tagging along with Collodi, I've got what is probably my favourite crew for an all-comers match. We have Coryphee, Marionette, Doppelganger, Widow Weaver, Collodi, with Bag of Props, Wings of Darkness and Strum the Threads. My loyal brutal Effigie, a Performer, a second Marionette and a second Coryphee. The plan's pretty stock. Hold on to two of my quarters whilst trying to break into one of my opponents. Protect territory is basically a shoo-in, unless I get completely tabled. And I've taken Distract, because actually reading the rules for it, this has got to be one of Collodi's favourite schemes. So turn 1, that's the kind of hand we're talking about. I win the initiative and make Joden go first. There's a bit of jiggling around. The Emberling and a Metal Gamin go, and a Fire Gamin moves up to here. I've activated Brutal and the Marionette, and now my Performer's gone, and Siren called the Careless Fire Gamin a bit closer to my lines. And Collodi's not going to miss that opportunity. He personal puppets the one, the Marionette in the dress, shuffles a little bit to get into range, and then pelts the Fire Gamin, which drops some delicious scrap. And then I'm worried about Mei Feng rail walking onto it and killing my Performer, so I pull her back with Collodi. If I pushed him up his full 6 inches, I reckon he would have been in range to try summoning off that first turn, but I wasn't thinking. In the rest of the turn I don't think anything really dramatic happens. One of the Marionettes pulls along Collodi a little bit further up. I'm dropping some early scheme markers for Protect Territory, and for all my opponent knows they could be plant explosives. Mei Feng has rail walked and vented steam to protect some of the guys near her. And a negative flip to casting actions makes me unhappy. The Mole Men have done their Mole Men things and moved around placing scheme markers. On into turn 2, my hand stayed pretty much the same. I think I only drew 1 card. I win the initiative, and the brutal Effigie activates, doing its stuff with Collodi, who then accomplices, spends a stone to make a new thread and bring in the lucky Effigie, because I want to gum things up with his Look at Me ability, and you can never have too much healing. I My Will the Coryphee around and up in to engage Mei Feng, push over to the position you see, and then I think I probably take a pot shot at a Mole Man. I can't remember whether or not I did anything. Maybe it was the Coryphee actually, perhaps I was trying to get to slow it down. A few more moves ahead, the Metal Gamin magnetises my Coryphee for 2 damage, and its friend over here in the ruins has done the same thing on my yellow Coryphee. So they're both at half damage. I frickin' hate these Gamin. Mei Feng mangles my Coryphee, ignoring the lucky Effigie's best impression of Barbarous, and kung fu's her way into my table quarter. Silly mistake to let the Coryphee die without activating. Really unnecessary. The lucky Effigie takes a charge from a Coryphee and survives, possibly due to a Black Joker. I move my personal puppet Marionette into contact with what's-her-face, Mei Feng, and distract her. And this was premature, I feel, because now he's wise to my game, and I'm really not in a good position to get my second distract target. I think maybe this Effigie should have moved up and enticed something to come get it, so that Marigold Coryphee could move in for the distract. So yeah, I'm not playing very efficiently with my activation orders. As it is, my opponent's blue Coryphee dance partners across to its yellow companion, and because dancing's fun, they form a duet, and then end up hiding behind the pillar, because Joden has caught wind of my scheme to lure them closer with the Performer and then distract them with something. I've been exhaling terror madly with the Widow Weaver and the Beckoner, but nothing's been getting through. The lucky Effigie's on his last wound, and the Mole Man attacks. The Effigie ducks the right hook, but steps right into the uppercut. Fortunately, this is where the Black Joker appeared, and Lucky lives up to his name. As an aside, you might be able to see which football team I support. Those of you familiar with the lower leagues of English football, as Lucky is proudly wearing their paraphernalia. With my attempt to get a second distract this turn thwarted, my Marigold Coryphee just freaking runs up and engages the Emberling or whatever it's called. We'll get it next turn. Finally, Lucky's luck runs out and he takes a flying kick from a Mole Man. But that does leave me with a lot of delicious scrap in a convenient position. Oh, and the last move it seems was the Coryphee Duet. It must have placed behind the pillar when they were summoned, and now it's got its movement. Interesting move. I don't think it could have charged anything because of where it was positioned, but it's got 3 activation points. I'm guessing his plan was to move it around here out the way and get a charge next turn on Collodi? Something like that? Maybe he's going for the Effigy. Who knows? It heals itself up to 1 wound anyway. We go into the next turn. Still not a bad hand. The red Joker's always nice to see with Collodi because of his positive to damage flips. Fate's on my side and I get the initiative again. Brutal Effigy goes, gives Collodi Fear Not the Sword and also goes fast, and runs over to distract the Coryphee Duet. He's just in range to accomplice Collodi, who also goes fast, runs up over here to be in range of both scrap markers, uses some Soul Stones and possibly the red Joker to summon the Shadow Effigy and the Lucky Effigy back into action, pulls the strings on the Duet to no effect, and then pushes back to where you see. The Metal Gammon effortlessly takes down my Coryphee, casting freaking 8-0 action, which ignores armor no less. Did someone say that these guys got nerfed? I don't know what they're smoking. So what's going on here? The Coryphee Duet removed Distract on itself and then just moved up again to get a line of sight on the charge range on Collodi. Ah, I just remembered, I didn't target them, I targeted this Metal Gammon with Collodi's action and got idle hands on it. This Gammon comes forward and has the temerity to target Collodi, doing 2 damage. Looks like I forget to run away home, or maybe I soul-stoned it, I can't remember. But it gives my Marionette 2 attacks on Mei Feng, and I think that does bugger all. My Performer tries twice to Siren Call the Gammon, but it's not having any of it. I really needed to pull it closer so my Marionette could run up and distract it, but it wasn't to be. Meanwhile, the Emberling's setting up the first line of the sand marker, and Joden has surprised me both times we've played with quite how good he is at setting up this scheme. It's something I find really hard. Goodness, this is starting to look a bit of a mess. So the Metal Gammon's gone. I've stolen its activation to move it into range of the Shadow Effigy. It then kills poor Brutal with its Magnetize, and then maybe does a little bit of damage to the Lucky Effigy, I can't remember. Widow Weaver's exhaling terror on the Coryphee Duet, but it's passing its Horror Jewels, very frustratingly. Well, 1 Horror Jewel I guess, because it doesn't need to take any more once it's past 1. And the Beckoner's busily trying to paralyse this one with Horror Jewels, and the Gammon continues to show its iron resolve. Mei Feng ditches her imbued energies to go fast, using 2 actions to remove Distracted, and then puts the boot in on Collodi, spending a Soulstone for a suit, and another for positive flips. She draws the Black Joker to hit, and just to put the icing on the cake, the Puppet Master runs away home. That, ladies and gentlemen, is bum luck. My Effigies go, and I don't have a great picture, so this is 1 backup. The summoned Effigies fight the Mole Men and the Metal Gammon, putting it on its last wound, and I don't know, possibly wounding the Mole Men. One of the Mole Men slips away and places a scheme marker that's not on the centre line. And then my Marionette just walks into combat with Mei Feng, who's over here, and distracts her again. We both score Reconnoiter again this turn, and so the score stands at 2-all. Going into the next turn, I stone for cards. In even drawing 3, my hand's not stellar. I should stop complaining, it's not bad. I win the initiative again, and this is getting a bit embarrassing because I'm not even needing the Doppelganger to do it. Shadow Effigy is the only one in range, so he activates, makes Collodi harder to hit, and then shanks the Metal Gammon because I can't have that thing running around anymore. Collodi Accomplices goes fast, raises the brutal Marionettes once more from the grave, moves away into range of the Metal Gammon scrap marker and summons a Marionette, because now I'm out of Effigy muscles. I had to go and get Hodgepodge and Mysterious after this game. And this is the turn he took a pot shot at the Coryphee and did nothing. Metal Gammon heads for the centre, drops the scheme marker and magnetises Collodi, doing 2 damage, and I've run out of Soul Stones now with all my summoning. Sadly, the negative flip from the Shadow Effigy's buff didn't help me, and my Master is now on 2 wounds. But my personal puppet is nice and in range. As the turn progresses, Lucky distracts the Mole Man. Widow Weaver stacks another web marker on top of the previous one. And now the duet is down to a nice manageable willpower 4. You'd think it'd fail a horror duel, but no. Seeing the way the wind is starting to blow, the duet gets the hell out of there. It was distinctly possible that the doppelganger could have mimicked C's prey to paralyse it and give it 5 poison, which the performer could expunge. But now the only one left in the web is Mei Feng, and she couldn't really give a shit. The Embling jumps the wall, places a scheme marker, and I siren call it closer, before running up and distracting it with this marionette. Mei Feng goes off the chain, and Jackie Chan's the Widow Weaver, who is just dead meat without soulstones. The mole man that got distracted and kicked in the nuts by the lucky effigy decides to fuck off, drops down a hole, and then pegs it round the corner to safety. The idea, I guess, being to try to keep enough models alive to at least try to hold table quarters. The doppelganger mimics the performer's melee attack, and you know you're scraping the bottom of the barrel when things have come to that. She then charges the metal gammon, but a black joker prevents her from finishing it off. And I can't really complain because Joden has had about 5 or 6 of these things so far. The marionette then charges Mei Feng, but all it achieves is letting her leap aside into contact with the performer, though fortunately she's on a quarter midline and so doesn't score. At the end of this turn, I control these 2 quarters and we draw in this one, and my opponent owns this one, so I score a point, whilst Mei Feng goes home empty-handed. Final turn, these cards can have to do. I don't have great pictures of this turn because, to be honest, both of us were pretty shot by this point. The Embling breaks away from the marionette and goes and places another line in the sand marker. I think that completes the 4, but then the marionette just runs up and removes one of them. Mei Feng breaks away from the performer, flying kicks the doppelganger but can't quite kill it, and the doppelganger acts like a real jerk and uses Don't Mind Me to just pick up the scheme marker. So close, Mei. I'm feeling pretty chilly, so I decide to wear my arse as a hat, run my performer around for no reason, and then the fire gammon on the hill shoots it and kills it. Why do I bother? The duet promptly charges the remaining marionette, and just look at the distance those things can go. But due to some great luck, the marionette survives. I think he didn't even take a damage. So yeah, in the end, stuff just runs around. Looks like I've managed to summon in another marionette off the Widow Weaver's corpse. I score the final point for Reconnoiter. I get another distract point for these guys. I think the mole man also had a distract on them, but because he had to use these guys to try and preserve his line in the sand, it didn't really matter, so I don't think he took them off. And yeah, that is the game. Really good fun, and bloody hell, really complicated. I just really love how Collodi works. I don't think I did this crew justice. I think it could have done a lot better. I didn't play very efficiently, and my opponent did get some rotten luck. But, you know, games are just like that sometimes. Scores: I scored full points for Reconnoiter, 3 points for Protect Territory, and 2 points, I think, for Distract, putting me on 9. Joden the 13 Fates scored 2 points for Reconnoiter, 3 points for Protect Territory, and 1 point for Line in the Sand, putting him on 6. Good game. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll catch you on the next one.